Now I want to pay tribute to one of my personal heroes of mentalism, Uri Geller. In the 1970s, he captivated the world with his incredible displays of apparent psychokinetic power, and most famously, his dramatic performances of spoon bending. Now, I want to see if that effect is as powerful today as it was then. I'm going to give you those to hold on to for now. You just hold those. And Gaffer, I'm going to use these two, okay, which you can see exactly the same. Okay, you can see that flat, almost flat across the neck. Yeah. You hold that, just hold that for a moment. And you see this one here, watch this fork. If I bend this, I rub this here.
It's moving. This is too much.
No, this is a joke. This
is too much.
Do you see it go?
Oh my god.
You see it go? Feel that? It's cold. It's cold. It's not hot. Yeah? And you see already. This is expensive.
This is crazy.
I can't forgive that. It's a solid.
This is bending. No, it's not bending. You have to put power, man. You have to apply pressure. That's what I was touching on top of.
Let me try this again. Watch me bend this a little bit more. Bryn, you say go. You say go. Say go.
Go.
Nah, I'm gone. Let's go. This is mad.
I need to watch this. This is too much. It's moving in front of my eyes.
I could put my hand over the thing, where the spoon was bending, to see if there was a force, supernatural force or something pulling it. But I touched it, there was nothing on it, it was just bending itself.
Just it go.
What the heck?
See it bending.
God.
I was just like, wow, like how did he do it? Like how did he, I don't know.
Sure if you say go?
It was really cool. Like,
People know experience that before.
yeah.
That's magic too.
Like, I've seen it on TV, but I've never seen it in real life.
Oh my god.
What?
His whole style made him look like he's been places, he's seen things, he's traveled the world. I think maybe he's been somewhere we have never seen and got some magic powers by touching stones.
Yeah. If you focus right on the neck here. You focus here, watch this. Watch how it begins to go. You focus right on that, you see it go? Do you see it go? You see it go? You feel it go?
Yeah.
You feel it go in your hand? Like this. And if you cup your hands, let go, and you cup your hands. Both your hands. Watch this. Watch.
How is it bending? That's nice.
I'm scared. I can't.
Yeah, it's sick. No, it's sick. I told you cut it
Oh
off.
my god, how did you just do that? I normally think that when I watch these shows, the people standing around are all in on it.
Yeah, that's what we.
I'm not in on it, trust me.
Magic, sometimes you look at it and you think, is it real, is it not?
Yeah.
But, you know, you watch it from TV, you can't really say anything because you're not there to experience it. But when you see it in your own eyes, something you can't bend, bending by something, it's unexplainable. It's a phenomenon.
Uri Geller wasn't the only mentalist who shot to stardom in the late 70s. In 1979, an American university began a series of experiments into whether psychic powers existed. The experiment's subjects claimed that they possessed such powers, except they didn't. They simply used a combination of magic and mentalist techniques to fool the scientists into believing that they did. One of the participants of Project Alpha was an 18-year-old hoaxer. Today, he is one of the gods of mentalism, and I'm about to meet him. Mentalism's ability to convince an audience that the performer possesses supernatural, psychic, or mental powers is what makes it so compelling. And one of the great modern masters is Banachek.
Banachek has played a part in absolutely my magical life. He's been this godfather figure in mentalism for me. He's written and created and produced so much mentalism on so many different levels. One cannot really underestimate how dominant a role he is today in the world of mentalism. So now to sit with him is just the greatest dream. To talk about all these things it's a real dream come true. Banachek, so thank you very much for this. Thank you for coming over.
Good to be here.
I remember buying your Psychedelic Silverware VHS cassette tape about 15 years ago, and that began my study of everything you've done. And of course Project Alpha. I started reading about Project Alpha. How did that begin?
Well, in 1979, James S. McDonnell at McDonnell Aircraft, they built planes for the military. He gave $500,000 to Washington University to study psychic phenomena. I was a kid who didn't know anything about magic. Didn't know there was such a thing as a mentalist. All I knew is that there were people that con people using these methods. So I wrote to them and said, hey, I can bend metal with my mind. And I convinced scientists for 4 years that I was a genuine psychic, only to come out in the end and explain that everything I had done was an illusion. And basically they would set something in front of us and say, can you do this? And I would say yes. Like they would have a little wooden stand with a groove cut into it, and they would put a bell jar on it, and there was a spike in the center, a little paper rotor underneath it, and they say, can you make it move? I go, yeah, sure I can. And I concentrate, sure enough, it would be moving to the right. And they said, just to make sure it's not air currents, can you make it move to the left? And I'd concentrate, it would be moving to the left. And they would cover it with anti-static material and things like that. And I was able to do all of these things.
And these were magic techniques?
These were magic techniques.
But you have a phrase that you use for your mentalism, which is...
Yeah, I say I take my 5 known senses to create the illusion of a sixth sense. We've got touch, we've got taste, sight, smell, and hearing. And those are the 5 that I tend to deal with. I always add that I use magic, because I use a lot of magic with what I do, so I feel like I have to put that in there, you know. And I use perceptual manipulation, which is manipulating your perception of how something is actually happening as well. And so I'm telling the truth when I say that, because I am using all those things, and I think that's an area that we have to be really careful of as mentalists, don't we? Because if you say that you're psychic, and that's the only way you're doing something, that's just a lie. It's a straight-out lie. And you're leaving it open for somebody to expose you, because you're not saying you're an entertainer anymore.
Banachek has agreed to perform a piece of mentalism with me, based on his mantra of manipulating the 5 primary senses to create the illusion of a sixth.
To start out, we're going to use the sense of touch. So, George, do you see there's a blindfold there? Do you see that blindfold?
Yeah, sure.
Hold it up against your eyes, please, and just make sure that you can't see through it. And when you're done, I want you to give it to Drummond. Drummond, put it on, but George, I want you to make sure that he can't see through it, please. And tell me when you've done that.
It's pretty secure.
Yeah, it's pretty secure?
Yep.
If you look on the table there, you're going to see there's a die. I want you to put it on the table with any number up, please. Drummond, I want you to take your index finger and just feel the top of the die and feel out the pips for us, please. Sense of touch. Did you get something? Drummond, would you remove your blindfold and just tell us what number's on top that you felt?
It was number 1.
It's a 1. Now, what do we have here?
Number 1.
We have a number 1.
For this stage, we're going to use the sense of smell. Suzanne, if I can give you this for a moment, you take that blindfold. And if you would please take a moment and place the blindfold on. Okay? George, on the table, you'll see we have a number of objects, different objects. Okay. Suzanne, would you just confirm you have no idea what these 5 objects are?
Yes.
You haven't seen them?
No.
Nobody's told you what they are?
No.
Perfect, okay. George, what I want you to do is to look over the 5 objects, take a moment, change your mind, and in your own time you please select one of them, okay? No? No?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Please hold it in your hands. Now, Suzanne, if you could please cup your hands. And in a moment, I'm going to ask both of you to raise your hands to your nose
and to both inhale and take a big breath through your nose. Okay? So you please do this now. You raise your hands, take a big breath. And you breathe out. And one more time, you breathe in. And you breathe out. Okay. Suzanne, did you get any sense of a smell, an aroma? Anything at all?
Yes.
What was that smell?
Lemon.
Could you please, you take the blindfold off, Suzanne? You turn around to George, you show Suzanne.
You're joking.
That's fantastic.
That's pretty impressive.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Wow. Her voice sounded very sincere when she was, when he said, what are you smelling? She said, I'm smelling lemon. Almost as if it was being transferred from myself to her. I don't know, it's quite strange.
Influence and control is what mentalism hinges on. Now, I'm going to Barcelona in northern Spain, where I'll take influence, control, and suggestion to a whole new level in the warren of streets that is the city's medieval quarter. At the end of my journey, all these elements will come together in a 50-50 decision with potentially disastrous consequences.